Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going? You got quite the stack that showed up today.
Yeah. Aaron was coming over to record this podcast, and literally my box of records that I ordered showed up, and I was like, man, get in the house, we got open days.
That's what, 3 inches? 4 inches?
Yeah, size matters. Size always matters. How you feeling?
Good. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
We gonna have a good episode?
Oh, absolutely. New record showed up. It can't be a bad one.
No, there's no bad days when new records show up. All right, ready to get started?
Absolutely.
All right, let's drop that needle. All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Just One More Record. I am your host, James Dorn. With me, as always, is my partner in crime, the Batman to my Robin,
Oh, jeez.
the Kato to my Green Hornet,
That's a lot of pressure.
Aaron Rohde.
How's everybody doing?
Good. All right, what kind of stuff we got in store for these kids today?
So, as always, we'll go through new purchases. We'll do a little educational segment about different types of turntable. We've picked out direct drive versus belt-driven turntables, kind of give some pros and cons, some basics about how they work, let you guys kind of decide where you want to go from there and how you're going to branch out.
We got a new segment. It's a
We've got a very new
surprise.
segment that we're both very excited about.
We're going to do a little bit of news. Yeah. All right, so let's do the news segment first since we're talking about it. Aaron, do you know who Phil Spector is?
Admittedly, I know the name, but I would not be able to pick him out.
So this guy was an iconic producer for much of the 60s, 70s. He worked with all kinds of people, notably the Beatles. He worked with them during their solo time. He did some albums with John Lennon. All Things Must Pass with George Harrison. He did stuff with the Ramones. I mean, this guy was a well-known producer and a bit of a psychopath.
It's a lot of iconic albums that you just listed off.
Absolutely. He had this thing called The Wall of Sound. That was what he was known for. The album Let It Be by the Beatles, probably one of the more notable ones to feature The Wall of Sound. Later, they would release a version of the album without his Wall of Sound called Let It Be Naked. I actually like that version better. I thought it was great. So this guy was really well known and really prominent for a long time until he got this, of course, all obscured by his murder of actress Lana Larkson on February 3rd of 2003. And of course, the legal circus that played out over the next 6 years as he trashed her name and character. This woman was a saint. She did all kinds of stuff to help AIDS patients and stuff. This was a good lady.
Nothing's easy in Hollywood, that's for sure.
No, and my wife was listening to a podcast called My Favorite Murder, and they were talking about this. I don't really like to listen to murder podcasts, but that's what she's into, so got to support that. Mm-hmm. And this guy was just crazy. He'd put guns in people's mouths all the time. The Ramones said that when you get to studio with them, you'd be tripping on bullets and stuff like that. There's just guns everywhere.
What a time.
Yeah. Anyway, then the other thing we wanted to talk about is Alice Cooper recently released a song from his new album coming out called Detroit Stories. And I'm not really sure if he did all of it or just certain things with some of his original lineup from the Alice Cooper band. And I have to say, from what I've heard, sounds very old school, and I like it very, very much.
It's got to be exciting if you're a big Alice Cooper fan or a big classic rock fan.
I do love Alice Cooper. I just wish they would re-release some of those classic albums.
You never know. That may come down the road.
Yeah, get those record store days. All right, so let's move on to the educational section. So, as Aaron mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about belt-driven tables versus direct drive tables. Now, this is not one of those situations where we're trying to argue that one is better over the other. Full disclosure, Aaron and I both have belt-driven turntables, but we want you to make that decision. We want you to be informed. We want you to decide.
We also like to do a little bit of this research ourselves, too, to see what else is out there, too, in case, you can always upgrade down the road, too.
Knowledge is power.
So I'm focused on direct-driven tables. So these types of tables get rid of a belt, and it uses a motor to spin the table. So some pros about this.
And this is directly under the platter.
Correct. Yep. So some pros are that the platter gets up to speed a little quicker with these types of tables versus a belt-driven table, which means for music and sound quality, there's just a little bit less distortion at the beginning of a record. For these types of tables, you don't have to worry about replacing a belt on them or a belt stretching over time. They can look a little more modern, futuristic, however you want to phrase that.
And of course, aesthetics are essential when picking out your turntable.
A lot of people focus on looks first. That's not necessarily what you or I do, but it is a big part of the game for sure.
Yeah, there are some wild looking turntables out there. Like, I'm in a couple of record groups online, and every now and then someone will throw up a photo, and I'm just like, that is crazy. There's turntables with multiple arms on them.
Yeah, some of it's a little too much for me. I like the just drop the needle, let the record play. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
I respect that they're so like, this needle is for when I play this type of music. This needle's for when I play this type of music. I just can't focus that much on it.
There's a very deep hole to go down to once you start that fall.
Right. And again, like Aaron and I talked about in the last episode, we don't judge how you choose to collect. That's your business. The table you select, that's your business.
Yeah, your collection, your table, that's all up to you and whatever makes you happy. Some other things about these tables, it can include a pitch control, which lets you fine-tune the speed of your record.
So would you say that's for like the hardcore audiophiles that really love a certain sound?
That, or if you are getting into like club DJing, where you can rotate speeds back and forth. You've got one record on each side of you, something like that, and you're kind of switching back and forth between them. I don't think it's anything I'd ever get into, just because I am not good enough at that stuff yet. I'm still pretty early into the collecting game compared to some of these other people. So
lifelong collectors,
right? Yeah. Some cons about this table are they can be harder to set up and to use initially. My table, when I got it, it was very self-explanatory. Of you put the platter here, you put the slip mat on top of it, you put the belt around it, you flip the switch, and it's ready to go.
Big shout out again to U-Turn, an American company. Wonderful directions, great customer service.
Absolutely. There's very good packaging when it's
They are not a paid sponsor of ours. We just really like them.
But if they want to be, we wouldn't say no.
Absolutely. Got to get paid.
Another con is there are more parts to worry about going out on you. And from what I gathered, it would be a little more expensive to fix the motor on one of these tables than a motor on a belt-driven table.
I would think chances are, too, you probably wouldn't be able to easily do that if you don't have like an electronics background.
Right. I would think it's going to be a lot of taking things apart and
probably some soldering
and doing God knows what to the table.
And there's always YouTube videos of everything. Not that we're telling you to go home and rip your table apart, but
if that's your thing and you're confident, go for it. That's not something I'm going to do anytime soon, but if you're into that sort of stuff, give her a shot.
Respect.
Yeah. There is also a little higher torque with some of these motors, which means more vibration. And if you don't have a good enough slip mat or whatever, that can distort some of the sound on your records as well. One fun fact about these is that this motor spins at a constant speed once it's up to speed. Hip-hop DJs, back when hip-hop was starting to be a thing, found that even if you place your fingers on the record and essentially stop the record from spinning, the motor would still keep going, and that's where scratching evolved from. So they used that to get different sounds, go back and forth on the record.
Intentionally scratching records.
Right, yeah, it scares the crap out of me, but you got cheap stuff laying around that you don't necessarily get into all that much.
Like banjo music?
Your words, not mine. If you're into trying things out like that and you want to be a quote unquote club DJ or that's your jam, Have at her.
I'm sure there's some dollar bins you can
Yeah,
mess
so
with.
there's always dollar bins to mess through.
Or you can go pick up all those Lawrence Welk albums from the Goodwill.
Yeah, or how to polka, or whatever one you've got. Learning how to polka dance.
I'll have you know it's called Let's Disco.
Oh, it's even worse.
It comes with one side's instructional, comes with a very large booklet. This was a record I got from a batch from my mother-in-law. It's in mint condition, and I just loved looking at it. I put it on. I mean, I wait for it to warm up a little bit before I make my wife learn the disco dance with me.
It's one of those things that you listen to just for the experience.
Right, and I do own 2 polka albums.
I think that might be more than I have in my collection. I think
They
I've got
were recorded in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. It's a piece of local history.
story. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's all I've got for direct drive tables.
All right, guys, let's dive into belt driven. This is, of course, where the motor is separate and the belt goes around the motor and around the platter. The first fact is the motor is located separate, so this can reduce a lot of the harsh vibrations that you may hear during your playback and may affect your sound quality. The belts are typically made of an elastic material, which usually doesn't transmit vibrations very well, so this can also minimize the vibrations and effects on your playback. Some players, like the U-turntables that Aaron and I have you relocate one end of the belt to a different position to account for different speeds.
Which I just had to do for the first time last week. It was trickier than it probably needed to be, and I mean, most of that was probably just from me never having done it before, but
It's a little scary the first time you do it.
yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple 45s that I bust out every now and then.
Yeah, this one kind of surprised me. I threw it on and it sounded like a chipmunk, so... Well, it didn't sound like it was going too slow. So.
Yeah, that's another important thing, too, is they do make full-size records that are recorded at a different speed, which we'll get into that on a later episode about what the difference is with the speeds. So I have a Paul McCartney album from one of the more recent record store days that was not recorded at it was at 33 and a half.
I believe so.
It was actually recorded at the 45 speed. So if I ever pop that bad boy on, I gotta change the belt position. Mm-hmm. All right, jumping back in. So a large cross section of vinyl collectors prioritize motor noise in their selection of turntables. So that can be why a lot of people actually prefer the belt-driven turntables, like myself and Aaron. So cons. As I mentioned earlier, these belts are often made of an elastic material. This, over time, can result in some stretching and can fall off the edge of the platter, or off the part of the motor that sticks out of the top of the turntable. Admittedly, this is something I have experience with my turntable. So for that reason, I usually try to keep an extra belt in my supply box just in case something happens. Some belts, like the ones we have for the U-turntable, you can actually just put in a bag and put them in the freezer, and it causes them to kind of shrink back down. This can be a nice short-term fix for you if you're having some problems with some belt slippage. Some collectors also find the speeds on the belt-driven tables to be less accurate, which can affect the sound. I've not had any issues other than the very first time I started up, just because the table's got to get up to speed. But that real brief second really isn't something that bothers me much. All right, and that is all I got. So hopefully, guys, that helped shed some light on your different turntable choices while you're doing some research. Again, we want you to be well informed.
And like we said before, there are no wrong answers. You ultimately have to decide if this is something you're going to get into. It can be a money sucker, for lack of a better term. So make sure you get something that you're going to enjoy, you know how to use, and you're comfortable fiddling around with a very little bit if you have to.
Right. Absolutely. This could be a table you get just for a few months, or this could be your only table you ever buy.
Right.
Just, you got to decide what's right for you.
And things can always be upgraded, downgraded, whatever need be for it to work for you.
Right. Some tables you can swap out arms, you can swap out needles, you can replace your motors like we were talking about. It's just how far you want to get sucked into that.
Absolutely.
So, As Aaron mentioned earlier, we are going to premiere a brand new segment, one that we are both very much looking forward to doing. We're doing this in the hopes to kind of expand our mutual musical knowledge and share some things with each other that we really enjoy ourselves.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to have Aaron tell you all about that segment, and then we're going to get started.
So, what we're going to do, for this episode and for future episodes, we have each picked out a record to give to the other person. We're calling it Going In Blind, so we know nothing about what we picked out for the other person.
And we're sharing our Discogs with each other so we can easily check if it's something the other person had.
Yep. So for this episode, I'm giving James a record to take home, to review, to listen to, and then next time we do an episode, he'll share his thoughts. If he liked it, whether it's something he would ever get into or an artist he would ever buy again, stuff like that. And then we will decide kind of behind the scenes whether yes, we'll keep it or no, we'll give it back to the other person. So I have the first record here that I'm going to give to James. I'm just going to share the artist, the record label, and the title of the album, and then James will give his initial thoughts here for it. I'm very excited about this one. I think this is something James would never buy for himself, but I think this is something you're really going to love.
So let me specify with this is we legitimately have no idea what the other one's picking.
No idea.
You are hearing it for the first time.
We gave a slight, rough estimate of this is what it's worth, so we could kind of be fair about things.
Right, and we kind of talked about some absolute deal breaker genres and stuff. Like right. Aaron knows I'm probably not going to be super into really modern poppy country.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And I guess
everything else was fair game though.
Yeah.
Essentially.
All right.
So this artist, this is a guy that I would classify as about as close to soul music as we can get in today's modern times.
So a modern soul artist.
Modern soul artist. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. It's Aloe Blacc.
I have not.
Okay. It is a BMG Records label. Aloe Blacc. This is his newest album. It's called All Love Everything. So I will hand it over to you.
All right. So what I am looking at, for those who don't have it in front of them, is this African-American gentleman wearing a very tasteful suit. It's got kind of a reddish hue to it. I can see the top of his hands, and he's kind of got he's praying, and then he's got a very tasteful hat on. It says over the top, Aloe, and then where his hat is, it says All Over Everything, and then of course his last name, Black, B-L-A-C-C. Looking at the back side, we've got a little picture of the little further back. He's kind of got a playful look on his face, and he's looking over towards the list of songs, which include Family, All Love Everything, My Way, Wherever You Go, Nothing Left But You, Glory Days, I Do, Corner, Hold On Tight, and Harvard. So, my first impression. So, first of all, when you're telling me about what type of music is, I love soul.
Yeah.
Absolutely love soul. Listen to a lot of Al Green, Otis Redding, that era of stuff.
From what I know about this guy, he takes a lot of his inspirations from Al Green and those kind of artists as well.
And this isn't necessarily a bad thing for me to be getting into, because I don't buy a lot of modern artists. Right. I really do pick a lot of 60s and 70s type of stuff, a little bit of 50s. So he's not joking, released in 2020. So looking at this, I think this, so far, I'm very optimistic about this.
I'm very excited to hear your thoughts next time too.
I will. I think I'm going to probably get this guy going today.
Yeah, I'm very excited for your reactions.
So when I got Aaron, it is a little further away from me. It's in the room with us, but I'm going to go grab it. So let me go get it. All right. So Aaron's kind of got an opposite deal with me. So, Aaron has a very, very eclectic taste.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, I would probably say if I had to pick a weak area for you, probably is a little bit more like the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I think that's very fair.
I don't think that that's like, you like it, you appreciate it. So this person that I got is probably, I would put him in my top 5 favorite artists.
Okay.
I would say that he was a contemporary to David Bowie.
Okay.
He, however, died at a young-ish age, so I don't think we really got to see the true magnitude of what he was going to do and what he was capable of. Okay? So for Aaron, I selected T-Rex.
That's awesome.
So Mark Boland of T-Rex, The Slider.
Okay.
So this came out in 1976, was the original release. What Aaron does not know is that this is a clear record.
Okay.
So Aaron appreciates the clear vinyl. Looks like it was published on Demon Records, which I've never heard of before.
So when I look at this cover, he's looking right at you. It's kind of a black and gray, dot picture. I would kind of describe it as, my first impression is this guy looks like Slash to me, and that probably ages me a little bit, but
Slash of Guns N' Roses.
yeah, that's my first impression. I love all the red that is used. It's my favorite color for sure.
If you enjoy this, I will tell you that I don't even consider this to be his best album, but this is a good album.
So songs include on this is T-Rex The Slider, Side 1, Metal Guru, Rock On, Baby Boomerang, Spaceball Ricochet, I don't even know how to say that, Buick McCain, Mystic Lady, and The Slider. And then side 2 has Telegram Sam, Rabbit Fighter, Ballrooms of Mars, Chariot Shugal, Main Man, and Baby Strange. So this is, like, you nailed it on the head. This is something that I probably would never get for myself. It's not something I listen to a whole lot, but I do love, the late 70s, into the 80s rock music. So I can definitely see myself vibing to this pretty good.
So a lot of the people that I really loved, like musically, credit this guy as being someone who inspired them.
Okay.
So I think he's better than Bowie.
Yeah.
Which
you love Bowie.
I love Bowie. Like when Aaron got his turntable, I gave him a copy of Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah, which is a very great album.
Yeah, to me that's a must own. So I picked this album because I not only wanted you to experience this, but I wanted to leave something on the table where if you like this, which is still a great album, I want you to find other good
Something
things.
else to dive into, yeah.
Right.
And I am a sucker for the colored vinyl, the clear vinyl, the different stuff like that too. So even that is also another plus for me as well.
Yeah, so tune in for episode 3 where we will be reviewing Aloe Black's All Love Everything.
And T-Rex The Slider.
All right, we'll go, some high points of, some of our favorite songs, what we liked, what we didn't like. Probably like a 0 to 10 scale, how good we think it is. Think if it's a classic.
Would we ever buy this again or this artist again?
Yeah, absolutely.
So last piece here, and I think this is something that we're gonna end with just about every episode. I don't want to tie us down to every episode, but
We don't like labels.
yeah, right. So new purchases. You've got this stack here. So what did Armando hook you up with this week?
So again, Second Chance Vinyl Group on Facebook. It's got a lot of different sellers, a lot of live auctions. Aaron and I buy from our local mom and pop record store, which is the Exclusive Company in Appleton, Wisconsin. We got a couple locations, but we do like to share the love. And I've said this before. Armando is a great guy. Donates a lot of his profits to charity. I think he's going for a non-profit here at some point. Again, not a paid sponsor. We just love this man.
Yeah, and a lot of these sellers are people who run the stores themselves. There's them and their family, their wife, and a couple friends running the store too. So anytime we get a chance to share some of our support with them, we like to.
Yeah.
We know where our money's going that way.
Right. We're helping people out. Yeah. All right. So I got quite the stack here. First of all, I'm going to go through the things I actually purchased. And then I'll talk about some of the fillers that I got along with that. So first up, which admittedly is probably one of the ones I'm really excited about, is Delaney and Bonnie and Friends on tour with Eric Clapton. Now, when I was watching this live auction, and I went a little crazy, this auction,
Just
go ahead.
James had 4 records purchased by the time I even got to sign on.
Let's say the first couple minutes of that stream, my name was getting said a lot.
Yes, it was. I think that was the first name I heard when I tuned in.
So Armando actually played a bit of this record live on the stream, only a little bit because Facebook will shut him down if he does too long. Mm-hmm. And I was hooked. I'm like, this sounds great. Looking at this, I was like, this probably isn't something that's probably still being made. So I'm like, I don't buy this. I may never see it again.
Right.
So that's gonna be really early high up on my list of things to play today. My next album, I actually picked up Aerosmith's Get a Grip, which was released, I believe, originally in 1993. This is a reissue on 180 gram vinyl.
Still sealed, right?
Still sealed, because Armando not only sells used ones, but he also sells new ones. And I will tell you, I got this cheaper than on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Which Armando frequently will get you there cheaper. So a couple key songs on here: "Living on an Edge," "Walk On Down," "Crying," "Crazy." Like when I was in high school, this album was huge. I remember the music videos all over the place.
Iconic music videos, that's for sure.
Yeah, back when music videos were still a thing. I picked up a copy of Kiss Analyze. You guys don't know this, big Kiss fan. Saw them in concert 3 times, actually. First one being in junior high school. Not one of their more well-known albums. However, it does have one of their best songs, Heaven's on Fire, and features the only album to have Mark St. John on it before his hand exploded, basically, and he was no longer able to be in the band.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was a real flash in the pan. I got a copy of The Heavy, sealed again. The House That Dirt Built, released 2009, sealed. Got it for $15. Great deal. All right, this one I'm excited to talk about.
This one I love. This.
So what you guys don't know is that if I see an album with an absolutely ridiculous cover on it, I will almost always buy it.
Yeah.
So
I think this one fits that category pretty darn
certainly does. So it's a copy of Cher, the Cher album, which admittedly I don't know a lot about Cher. I mean, I know a couple of the random songs. I was always told my mother looks like Cher when I was growing up, so it kind of kept me away from her. This was released in 1979 in Casablanca Records, and it's called "Take Me Home." Features Cher in. Do you think it's a drawing?
I would think so.
So it's it got this almost drawing / photo quality, and I would liken it to the Arnold Schwarzenegger Conan the Barbarian. Features Cher in a gold bikini with an elaborate metal Valkyrie headdress on, and is just absolutely just crazy when I see this.
It speaks of the 70s and 80s, that's for sure.
Yes. I got a copy of 1980s McCartney 2, which will go well with Paul McCartney's first album, which I have.
And all those Beatle albums that you've got.
I got a few of those, yeah. Jimmy Smith, Off the Top, featuring George Benson, Ron Carter, Grady Tate, Stanley, I'm not going to say because I can't pronounce that. He played a little bit of this and just sounded great, so I picked it up, got it for $5. Again, not a big country guy, but my wife really wanted a copy of Zac Brown Band's Greatest Hits Volume 1, because it says Greatest Hits So Far. And then I got a couple freebies along with that. I got John Denver's Wind Songs. This was something Armando threw in for free just because of how much money I spent. And then this I know absolutely nothing about. Mantoven Hollywood. Did I say that right, Aaron?
I believe so.
Yeah. So this will be an interesting one. Armando knows I like weird covers.
I don't know much about that one either, but the guy in the back of it, it's got a very show to me kind of feel to it.
Yeah, one side you got like a Hollywood girl with sunglasses, you can see in her reflection. And then the other side you got almost like a Dean Martin looking guy with a white suit and a bow tie on.
Yeah.
So that will be a surprise. And then in that group we had a fixed price kind of a deal. So it was like the second person to say this got this for this price. So Aaron actually got me 2 Jeff Beck albums that he's given me for free because he's my boy.
Yeah.
Jeff Beck Group, and then also Jeff Beck Wired, which Jeff Beck's an awesome guitarist.
I think I ended up being the second person to make the comment, and James was third or fourth. So whether you want to say I stole it from him or saved it for him, I'll leave that up to you guys. One of the ones that I really, really missed out on for that fixed price was he had a Grand Illusion Styx album for $2, and the record went to the first person to comment, and I ended up being the second or third, so I missed out on that one.
Great album. Listened to it yesterday.
Yeah. So for me, some new purchases. I got a Jaquan hip hop album from the auction. It's Hood Hop, I think, is the name.
That's a cool name.
The big song on there that everybody from my age group knows is Tipsy. If you want, go on to YouTube, Spotify, Apple, preview that song. I'm very excited for that one. I also got a Zac Brown Band album. It's called The Owl. It's their newest released album. It's very poppy sounding, less country. Very excited for that one. I did end up going to the store here in town, and I picked up a copy of Grand Illusion because I've missed out on it too many times for me to not have this album, so I had to go pick it up.
Did you get a new copy, like a 180 gram deal?
I did, yeah. I didn't get the limited edition green one because I don't think that one has come out yet, but I did get the issue.
Was it a bonus song?
No, the anniversary edition that you sent me with the green vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I don't think has been released yet.
Oh, okay.
To stores, but I did get a copy of it. Then another guy from the group, his name is Josh Noblet. He runs a store in North Carolina, I believe.
If we're wrong, and for some reason, Josh, you're listening to this, we apologize.
Feel free to correct us and set us straight on some of these things. So from him, I picked up a DJ Jazzy Jeff album with the Fresh Prince. It's got Parents Just Don't Understand on it.
Classic song. Classic.
Very excited for that. I'm a big Fresh Prince fan. I love the early 90s, fun hip-hop stuff that this is.
Before other rappers started taking themselves too seriously.
Right, yes. There's, the protest rap, there's the fun rap, and then the stuff
gangsta rap.
And, I'm more on the fun rap side of things. And then I also picked up...
Does that make you more of a rapper or an MC?
Oh, boy. I want to go MC.
Master of Ceremony.
I think MCs, yeah.
Yeah, because isn't that what the Beastie Boys are? They call themselves MCs.
Yeah, except they don't use the letters. They say EMCE, I believe. Don't quote me on that one.
Yeah.
Gotta love the Beastie Boys, though. They're on my list of things to pick up in the near future here. The last album I got was an Elton John. It's Reg Strikes Back. I was the only one to bid on this album, which I was very shocked about.
Is that the one with Crocodile Rock?
That is not. That, I believe, is Don't Shoot Me, I'm the Piano Player.
Okay.
I have that one from one of the antique malls in town here. Very excited about that one. I don't know too many of the songs on there, but I haven't heard too much Elton John that I don't like. So
Elton's got a very large catalog, and I feel like his early stuff, like any of those albums, are good.
And one thing about these auctions is they usually do $5 for shipping as a flat rate. So no matter what you buy, you pay $5.
Right. So all those records that I told you about that I got, just paid $5 for all of them.
Right. For me, I usually feel worse spending the same amount on the album as I'm going to spend on shipping. So I try to, if I'm going to buy, I try to buy 2 at least, just to make it worth it both for me and for the seller as well. So those are some things I picked up. The one filler I got was kind of a protest rock album. It's called Artists Against Apartheid. I haven't listened to too much of it, but from what I've heard, it's pretty good. It's one of those
Is
things.
that in reference to the South African
I
apartheid?
believe so. It was released in 1985.
R.I.P. Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, I don't think it's a live album, but I could be wrong on that as well. So those are some things I picked up recently here. I'm sure we'll have more that we've picked up going forward for next episodes as well.
All right, and hey, guess what? We made a Twitter page.
We did.
Yes. So if you want to communicate with us, you now have the ability to do that. It's called One More Record Podcast. It's got a picture of a black record and says featuring James and Aaron.
Yep, it's our new logo. It's got the maroon background. We will link, I believe we can link our Gmail account to that as well.
Which is also One More Record Podcast at gmail.com.
So if you have any comments, questions, things we were wrong about, if you want to set us straight on something, you can let us know there. You can let us know on Twitter. Either way.
If you write us an email, we will, and we did make a mistake, we will address that in the next episode. Also, if you got something nice to say, we'll probably read that too.
Yeah, we appreciate those too.
So if you like what you hear, check that out. Give us a couple more episodes, and if things keep going well, we'll see about getting on either Spotify and or Apple Music.
Absolutely.
So you can find us a little bit more easier. We're just still trying to get our sea legs a little bit.
Yep, definitely.
So,
all right, everybody. Remember, there's always more vinyl.
there's always more vinyl.